Welcome to UnityNow, the podcast where we discuss unity in the face of division. Inspired by the Unity 2020 plan, we strive to unite Americans by highlighting the middle ground between the two dominant parties and promoting the individual over groups. Each episode, we will bring you exciting, well-informed guests and host nuanced conversations about politically charged subjects. Our goal is to bring an end to the ideological war threatening the collective well-being of this great country.
Welcome back to the UnityNow podcast. I'm your host today, Toby Davis, and today we have a very special guest, former teammate of ours in the UnityNow group and also the Unity 2020 movement, our friend, former colleague, and host of the EW podcast, Mr. Eric White. Hello, sir.
Hey, the crowd goes wild. What's up,
Yeah,
Toby?
welcome back, my friend. How's it been going?
Yeah, it's been going, man. It has been going. I feel like, I've been really looking forward to hopping on with you today. It's just, I don't know, brings a smile to my face to do this kind of reunion thing. And it's been a busy 5 months since I last saw you guys, for sure.
Yeah, and we're trying to do sort of a Where Are They Now series, reach back to some former guests and teammates alike. And so there you go. Where are you now? What's going on? What's new in the world of the EW podcast and Eric White?
Yeah, well, maybe I'll start with Eric White, and then we can drill down a little finer to the podcast stuff. But
sure.
I've been in the middle of a move. Anyone who may have possibly seen an interview of me before on this show will not recognize my background, and I have very plain white walls right now. It's because we're still in the process of moving into a new place here in Carlsbad. We left downtown and came north, so it's been a process for sure, but we're almost done. So that's been a major thing in my life currently since we last talked. And as you know, the reason I left was to assist Greg Ellis on his podcast and pending book release, which came out recently. And just those things put together have made it a whirlwind of 5 months in addition to my full-time job and doing my podcast.
Yeah, I don't know if I knew that you had to move
unrelated
to help out with that. So
unrelated,
that was a big project coming
just
up.
Just happened to time
it's unrelated.
together,
Yeah. Okay. I was going to ask if we've heard so much of people moving during the pandemic, some for political reasons, and the exodus from California, the exodus from New York, everybody going to Texas and Austin, that sort of thing. Any of that come into play for you?
So it's funny you should ask. Before all of the rioting and the George Floyd death happened last summer, we were actually thinking about going to Portland. That was like, and I know you might remember we visited.
Oh, wow.
We visited there while I was volunteering.
Yeah.
That didn't happen, obviously. And pretty much for those reasons that you mentioned, we went and visited, and it's just, it didn't feel right. You know, it's a very, very beautiful place. We spent a lot of time outdoors. But the people we were there with were just not very optimistic about the vibe there and didn't know how we would, mesh with it. And, but the reason we wanted to get out of downtown was, I guess, peripherally political. It was more so about the homelessness issue and mental health issues down there. I've had a girlfriend for 6 years now, and she was not comfortable to walk outside in the daytime, and that's not a place you want to be. So, yeah.
No. Oh, that's sad. Yeah, I'm sorry you had to even be forced to make a decision like that. I think I'm lucky. We in Indianapolis in Indiana, we had some protests and some riots and some buildings boarded up, but nothing near like Portland and the ongoing onslaught that they're enduring. So, did you find a simpler life there, or more free life, or whatever you were looking for? Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude. We feel very at home. It's been great to come to North County. Yeah, it's just nice to have some more quiet. You know, I don't even know. I don't know if you remember that horn that used to always blare from the passing train outside of our window.
Yes.
But I was telling Gabe. Gabe messaged me the other night to just touch base, and I was like, "Yeah, the horn's been replaced by crickets. It's very nice. It's very nice."
Oh wow. Any cicadas? Did you have to endure that whole thing? No.
Nothing. Didn't see.
Yeah,
any of
we
that.
had
No,
we had it
no,
pretty bad around this area, and it was a sound. They weren't kidding when they was saying how bad it was going to be. It was funny. My wife got a video of them from inside a window. The window was closed, and it was already really loud. And then she opened the window, and it's just like, you had to turn the video down, sort of thing. So, yeah. Other than that, it's back to crickets. So yeah, I enjoy
yeah,
those.
nice. Yeah. Much better than city sounds for me, at least. I mean, to each their own, but I prefer. As we talked about on my podcast before, I'm from a rural part of Pennsylvania, and crickets are much more familiar and comfortable for me than city sounds.
Yeah, good. So tell us, if you want, about the experiences with on the Greg Ellis it's the Respondent podcast. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So how's that going? Yeah. What's that like?
Yeah. So that's actually, it's crazy that this was timed up how it was, because the last week, I'm still doing, wrapping up a few things this week, but last week was actually my last week helping out with him. I was doing it on a volunteer basis, doing all the video editing for his podcast on YouTube, and also doing some social media posting. And then with the book, I helped him create a trailer that was pretty well received, I think, and helping with the social media posting for that as well. So it's been busy, man. I've been putting in, I don't know, something like 20 to 40 hours per week for him on top of my full-time job, on top of the move. So it was it was a great experience. I learned a ton, but it feels good to just kind of take a break and a step back from that kind of stuff for now.
Yeah, very good. That's got to be amazing to get into that kind of stuff. I first heard about him, or I think I knew him as an actor, but then was surprised when he ended up talking to Brett Weinstein. I think it was one of the campfires, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Yep.
And I think I've heard him most on like Clubhouse, and talking about like Gen Z wokeness, that sort of thing, led to us having that episode with Christopher Wells on the UnityNow. And yeah, so just recently saw him on, I think it was Fox News maybe, or maybe even MSNBC, something like that. He was describing.
I think he was on both. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it was one of those. He was describing, I think, the purpose of the book, which I didn't know. I had no idea of any of that he talked about. So that was crazy. So, okay, well, cool.
Yeah, it's definitely an important message, and I think working with the UnityNow team, it was always great. It never felt like work, because the thing that we were working towards, or the goal that we had aspired to, was worthy. And I think you guys obviously still believe in it. You're still doing it. And that's what allowed me, I think, to continue working for him in the same capacity, maybe at a faster clip than I was doing for UnityNow. But, I think the Me Too movement was great, and it did a lot of good things. It exposed a lot of people who deserved it, but I don't think there's too many reasonable people who will deny that it became a witch hunt, and that there's a lot of systems and institutions in place that don't see fatherhood and masculinity as important. And so, I didn't know much about it before working with him. It wasn't a cause that I was super into, but I've had my own experiences of, feeling as though I'm going to be canceled, or what if my past gets dragged up and I end up having to pay, some fine or not a social fine for something I did, 20 years ago or something. It's like that I can relate to that kind of concern. And so that's where I think I was motivated to get on with him.
Really? Oh, so
yeah.
Can you talk about that? Whatever that experience is, where you feared being socially canceled or?
Yeah. I mean, it's, I mean, I don't think there's anybody who has had a social life that's explored their personal boundaries that hasn't made mistakes in their past, right? Like we've all erred. We all don't want to have to pay for our sins for the rest of our lives. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of instances in the past, in college especially, where, you know, sexual activities partaken of drunk parties is now something that is a very dangerous line to walk. And I don't, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's a bad thing that we're looking at that and being more definitive in how I'm not saying it's a bad thing that we are saying that it is a bad thing now to like that and that we need to have consent and that both parties should be able to make their own decisions. But there's times where I don't remember what happened, waking up next to someone, not knowing how you got there, not knowing what happened the night before, never feeling like I had, sexually raped or done anything like that before. But still where the line is today is much different than where it was when I was in college, and seeing that line move and having, I've talked about it before on my podcast. I was going through a really bad depression and anxiety in college. I tried to take my life one time in college and once again after college. And, when I think about that person, it's much different than the person I am today. And I wouldn't want to have to pay for the sins of that person having done the work to outgrow him. Does that make sense? Where it's like, we need to have space for forgiveness for people and give people the opportunity to grow and actualize and become better people. Otherwise, we're going to end up shooting everyone in the foot. No one's innocent in life. No one is free of sin. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's thanks for sharing that. That's fascinating. I mean, it kind of relates to an experience of mine. It's a little different. I know I'm a little older than you, so social media didn't exist back when I was what I call my idiotic stage of life, where I was just a moron, and my 14-year-old's going through the same thing. He's about to become a full-fledged moron, I think. And but when I mean, this, I was full on team Trump, hard right Republican back in the 2016 election and in the days leading up to it. So I recall a time looking back on, as you kind of just put it, that person, which is a very different person than I am today, and being fearful that some of the tweets on Twitter did not represent me. Like, they were so far detached from who I was now. I didn't want that to endanger the person I was now. And I was pretty sure my employer at the time actually followed me, like their social media account followed me on Twitter. So I went back and deleted a lot of that. I'll profess to that. So I understand.
I've been there, man. I've been there, like Googling, how do I delete all of my tweets or something like that, and it's crazy that that's true. I mean, like in your case, it should be celebrated. That should be something we celebrate. We look at someone and be like, wow, look at how much this person has changed. They used to do all these things and they've clearly become a better person. It's like, we should be celebrating that and holding that up and being like, you don't have to be who you were. Just because you made a mistake yesterday, it doesn't mean you have to keep making it. You can grow and become a better person. And I think that not allowing people that space to grow creates so much anxiety. I mean, I can talk from my own experience, and you just now with your employer following you, carrying that weight and being fearful that you're going to have to pay a penalty for your growth. It makes you not want to talk about it. It makes you want to hide it. And then it doesn't become an example for other people. And then people who are coming up and making mistakes, it's like they don't have something to look to because everyone's hiding their shit. And it's like, well, why are we doing this? We should be celebrating a society where people have the space, the will, the ability to get better. I think that's terribly backwards, and it's to all of our detriment.
Yeah. I think some of it is just our unprecedented access to technology in a way that just never before seen, to where you can just do that, like where was there an age before where you could just like almost like a time machine, dip back into somebody's life, 20 years ago and almost see their thoughts, and if you did that with anybody and ever in time, there might've been a time back when Hitler was not thinking the way he did that caused the Holocaust,
Yeah.
and
That
maybe
actually
if you had
was,
Twitter
yeah.
back in the 40s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there actually was.
So if you had Twitter back in the 40s and he was tweeting out, we need to save Germany, that seemed like a concept that people could rally behind. And because that's really kind of how it started. Germany was in a desolate place. But obviously that it went south. So
yeah.
so
well, I think that kind of case is where the stickiness comes in, and something like the Me Too movement, where it, Harvey Weinstein deserve a second chance? Did he deserve to be given the benefit of the doubt and say, you know what, show that you're remorseful, let us see that you're willing to grow? Or is it you've gone too far, you've done it for too long, you've done it too many repeated times? I mean, that's where it gets sticky, is like, I believe both things. I believe that he should have been taken down, and I believe that we should give people the room to grow. And I'm not 100% sure where that line is, but I think the inability of us to talk about those kinds of things publicly and to have reasonable dialogues and come to some sort of conclusion together, where one person is saying he needs to go down, one person is making the argument of, no, maybe we should, give him a chance to grow. And I don't even know if he's the guy I'm going to die on the hill for. Like, I don't think I could make a good case for letting him continue. Like, it seems pretty cut and dry that he needed to be taken out by the movement. But, there's other less clear cases where it's like, yeah, that person did something egregious and we should call them out for it. But do they need to be destroyed? Do they need to lose everything? Or do we give them a chance to fix it, to become the person that they probably want to be? People don't generally, I don't think people want to keep making the mistakes they've always made. They want to stop. And there's something that is, I'm not a big fan of saying everyone's traumatized or everyone's carrying around their trauma. Sometimes that's true, but undoubtedly there's reasons why people do things, whether it's they learned improperly from their environment, their parents growing up, or they're acting out based on something that they haven't been able to process. Who knows? But I think the point is that we all need to be more compassionate with the person, and also ready to discuss the alternatives with people with whom we disagree, which is, what UnityNow is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many angles a problem like that has, and, obviously with everything, there's so much nuance. So you have the angle of, well, what are they being accused of and how bad is it? And who gets to make the decision of how bad it is? And then there's the angle of, what's the proof? What's the burden of proof to even say they really did what you're saying they did?
Right. And that's something that, that's sorry to cut you off. I didn't know if I just like ruptured a train of thought there, but that just really reminded me of, something I've heard Greg talk a lot about, is that once this stuff is brought out, it doesn't matter if there's actually proof. The person's already destroyed. Like once it becomes public knowledge, that person, maybe they get dropped from their network. Maybe they get, lose all their followers. They can't post to YouTube. I don't know, whatever it is. Then we sort through the evidence. It's like we punish first, and then we're like, okay, let's look through the evidence. And then if the evidence was wrong, there's never any like, oh, let's automatically rehabilitate this person. It's just like, oh, move on. Forget it. We already did it. Next one. Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah, that's social media justice right there.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, are you on, was it GRR, the Trump's new social media platform?
Is this the thing that's basically a blog, or is it something different?
It's it's built by his former, not chief of staff, but former chief, something that had to do with technology. And so this guy built a Republican Twitter, basically.
Really? Is it Sajan? Was it the Indian gentleman, Sajan Pai, or the? No, move on. Sorry, I'm blowing that one.
Pull it up, Jamie. We need Jamie.
Pull it up, Jamie.
No, it was Jason. The guy's first name is Jason. Here, I'll just pull it up.
Pull it up, Toby.
Trump Twitter. Yeah, that's what people are calling it. Let's see. It is Trump on social media. Oh, it's all about Twitter
his,
and his
fake lawsuit.
It's suing all the
in the wrong
platforms.
Jurisdiction. Did you see? Have you been watching Breaking Points at all with
No.
Crystal and Sagar?
I subscribed instantly. Have not been able to keep up.
Yeah,
with
they were just talking about
anything.
how
Did they cover that?
in Twitter's terms of service, they say that if you're going to file a lawsuit, you need to do it in some Northern California county. And then Trump, of course, and his team filed the lawsuit in Florida or something. So it's like it's just a show. I don't know. I would recommend watching that.
Yeah, I'll have to catch up on that one. So I found it. It's called. I was way off. It's Getter, Gettr. It was created by his former spokesman Jason Miller. Yeah, I went ahead and created an account. I was very curious if you could even get it on Google's Play Store, which soon you probably won't be able to. And it's almost exactly like Twitter in its concept. You have followers. You can look at a trending page, that sort of stuff. But it's all right-leaning people as far as I've seen so far. It's very interesting.
Nice. That'll be great. The further wow, I can't speak. The further division of our thought and discussion. That's
right.
Exactly what we need.
Yeah, it's like Parler times 2 or part 2, I guess. Because that's where I think a lot of people organized for the January 6th riots on the Capitol was on Parler. So
I'll have to check it out.
So
I'm down to explore.
Yeah.
Not afraid.
Yeah, and then learn how to delete your I don't know what they're called, posts or your gitties or whatever they're called.
Your geets.
Yeah, gitters. Yeah, I think when it was trending when he created it, the news came out. It was a lot of like gitter duns, making fun of the Republican base in the Rust Belt.
Can't get away with do anything without a good old jab, a good gotcha, told you so, or fuck you, take. It's
right. That's like the only reason I even have Twitter anymore. It's I just want to keep an eye on what's going on there. And I look at it that way. It's like over there in that space where those people congregate, let's see what they're up to. Sometimes things get trending that you would think wouldn't be because they kind of push back against the left. But most of the time it's all against the right.
For sure.
So,
actually, that makes me think of a question that I was for you. Let's just turn the tables. Toby, welcome to the podcast, everybody. Toby Davis is our guest today.
Seth, edit this out.
So what are your thoughts on Dave Reuben right now? Are you still, I know you were a big Dave Reuben fan before. Have you stayed in his camp? What do you think about his continual move to the right?
Yeah, I don't think I was. I don't know if I would ever call myself a big Dave Reuben fan. I had appreciated. I kind of just stumbled upon him back when I stumbled upon the whole IDW. I think at one point he had all of that group or most of that group on his show. So I just kind of followed along. I'll watch something he posts every now and then. Yeah, he's. I saw somebody complain about him that had a good complaint. It's like, it's always the same thing now. That's all he ever talks about is the wokeness and, what's going on in schools. And, he'll like almost every video, the screenshot, the YouTube
cover photo.
The cover. You know what I'm saying? The cover photo, the thumbnail, is something like Jen Pulaski, or it's Biden in a silly looking photo. Did she really just say that? Is this what he really means? Are they lying to you? So I've been increasingly not watching his stuff because it's becoming totally one-sided in a silo of right-leaning stuff. Yeah.
It's been a bummer to see. I kind of like you. I've never became a big Dave Rubin fan, but I definitely considered him to be amongst the people that I had respected in the IDW. And I don't remember what it was that kind of made me be like, oh, wait a minute, this guy maybe doesn't know what he's talking about, or he's kind of just pandering. Like he's starting to give into this model of anger almost. Like it seems like he's kind of just been captured by the right a little bit. And yeah, it's been a bummer to see, especially because, I think the thing that attracted to me at the beginning was his constant, at least vocal committal to ideas, and to hearing differing viewpoints. But yeah, I was just curious about what you thought about him now, if you were still watching or not, because it seems like I don't know. The reason I asked was because on Twitter the other night, I think it was last night, I saw him and Eric Weinstein get into something interesting where, Dave basically was like, what do you non-woke liberals think about this? And he tweeted about the Biden administration. Do you regret not voting for Trump or something? And then he like tagged Eric and Brett and Sam and everyone. And Eric was just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, we both had a shit choice. You made a shit choice too. I made a shit choice. We all made a shit choice. And I was like, thank you, Eric. Like that's why I love the Weinsteins, is they're just, they get it.
Yeah, it's tough. Like I saw something recent. I don't know if you saw this. There's this narrative going around the right where Jen Pulaski news conference said something like the Biden administration was going to have a community outreach program to go potentially door to door to promote people getting vaccinated. And I first saw it framed like this. Now the Biden administration is going to come to your door to make you get vaccinated. Mm-hmm. Right. And I'm pretty sure Dave Rubin, if it wasn't his post that I saw first, it was something like Breitbart or The Blaze. And then shortly thereafter, I saw one of his clips come out, and it was like Jen Pulaski's face again in a silly pose. And they're coming to your door or something like that. And if you really actually listen to her, which, you can then argue if you believe her or not, it's not what she said. It's not exactly what she said. So it's the same thing you see against the left from the right, against the right from the left, is reframing words to make them little clips, little sound bites, and make us all react without even reading the story.
Yeah, and just click. It's just, I mean, it's such a bummer to see that happen. And now, I mean, I don't want to sit here and talk about the IDW all day necessarily, but I think that's part of the reason we're here in the first place, is because of their work. And, specifically probably Joe Rogan and Brett, at least, are probably the reasons that we're directly here out of that group. But seeing that whole thing just dissolve and everyone kind of turn on each other in ways, it's been like watching the country fall apart in a microcosm, but like fast forwarded, in high speed, where it's just like everything was cool 3 years ago and now Trump's running for re-election and it's all done. It's just been such a bummer that they weren't able to withstand that internally. And I mean, there was no internal structure. It's not like they were all, relying on each other for their growth or their platforms, but you would expect a different outcome. I think if I was betting 4 years ago, would they still be cool in doing this? I would have said, yeah.
It's like this idea that I heard. I caught a clip of Rogan talking about this today, actually. The clip is actually about him meeting Trump at the UFC event. I don't know if you caught that or not. UFC 246, something like that. It was McGregor.
This past one?
Yeah, Saturday.
Oh, and Poirier.
Yeah.
Poirier.
So Trump showed up there. I don't know did you hear about that?
No. So
crowd went nuts, and he ended up like slapping Rogan on the back and saying hi to him. And so the first time, there was supposedly going to be Rogan shows with Trump, but the first time they actually met. But in the clip, in the lead up to him saying that to his guest, he actually talked about this idea that I've had this theory about a little bit, and it relates to the IDW and why they don't group up as a true group. It's because I think this idea of political homelessness, being politically homeless, I don't think is really a thing. I think like you and I and the Unity folks are individuals first and foremost, and we've evolved out of our shell in our echo chamber of right or left or wherever, and now we see things as individuals. And I think that's how you characterize the IDW. And individuals by nature are not going to naturally group with each other. They're not going to form a group just be out of their ideas because they are completely open-minded and they look at things individually. And I think that's why you can't, when you get those Where Are They Now IDW videos, that sort of stuff, that's why they never ended up really sticking together. I mean, you know, Dave Reuben, he is what he is, but he's also by himself. You know, he hasn't formed a team with any group and been only on Rogan shows or only on with the Weinsteins or only with Jordan Peterson, that sort of thing. And I don't believe in this idea of being politically homeless. I think what that is actually this idea of becoming an individual finally and seeing things for yourself. And everybody should be like that. There should not be parties really at all. And politically homeless is actually where everyone should be.
Yeah, I guess I would maybe add a point, not a counterpoint, but maybe an additional point of, you know, maybe the politically homeless identifier becomes your group, but the politically homeless thing by its nature, you know, you're politically homeless because you didn't identify with these two groups. And so now that becomes part of your thing where it's like, I don't identify with groups. So that makes you perceive being part of a group as potentially capturing or dangerous or whatever. So, you know, you adopt this politically homeless sort of group or politically homeless label that then leads you to not be a group member, right? I don't know. It's just a random.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like something like it's a construct of this environment we're in where most people are not homeless. They have a home. So I think that's the problem. It's a language built solely to interpret why somebody doesn't say right off the bat, you know, I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat or I lean this way or that way. Yeah. I think that's you're right. It's like a language built to define the anomaly that we, you know, cannot be defined
within the, Right. Yeah. Like it's only makes sense in the context of the two parties, right? Like you can't just be politically homeless if there's not already two groups.
Right.
Then you would just be apolitical or political. I don't know. But
you'd be Eric or Toby.
Yeah, for sure.
And then depending on what we're talking about, you know, you might, I believe in the deeper idea of left versus right, historically and evolutionarily. Like there's a place for that. And left is typically, I would describe it as more thoughtful of the social construct of things, looking out for the little guy, progressing things forward versus stuck in the mud, sort of staying where you are. Whereas right is more conserving things the way they are, being mindful of what's been built and not moving forward as fast, and more looking at the power structure and, you know, that kind of pull yourself up from your bootstraps mentality. And I think that kind of general description, maybe not that one specifically, but I think that's as far as if America had stopped there, you know, and not built these actual parties, then it'd be a much different landscape today.
Yeah, for sure. Or had parties existing along that whole spectrum between the two, right?
Yeah. Well, I think we covered everything there. So it's been a great show. No.
Yeah.
That's
You're welcome, America. You're welcome.
Yeah. Everything's solved. Just go back and reframe it.
Yep.
Delete Twitter.
Yep.
So what's been going on in the EW podcast? Speak to anyone interesting lately?
Yeah. So, man, there's some stuff I would love to get into. I kind of want to give some context about where things have gone just personally and with the podcast. I took some time off, probably about 2 months from podcasting. This month I started again, July 1st. We were moved in and have 6 people, two already recorded, 4 coming up. Our mutual friend Janice Hitchcock will be up tonight or tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure when this podcast is going to come out, but
yeah, there's a fascinating person.
Yeah. She was great. We had a great conversation.
Good.
I've got Benjamin Boyce coming up. I've got
very nice.
Yeah, very stoked on that. Dr. Edward Watts is coming out with another book next month, and he's going to stop by at the end of the month. And I've got Dr. Stanton Peele, which I'm super stoked about, wow. I'm stoked, man. I'm especially stoked to talk to him because, and this maybe gets into the context thing of where I've kind of been for the last couple months. Things got a little hairy the last couple months in life, just with so much going on in life. And we had some death in my girlfriend's family on top of the move and just all these things happening. I was like overdoing it with Adderall for a bit. And so I'm stoked I was overdoing it with Adderall. And then, as I'm like taking Adderall and kind of not feeling super great about it and starting to feel a little guilty about how much I'm using it and like, this isn't good for me. I kind of have like Zach Rhodes and Stanton Peele in the back of my mind. Like, your use is just a product of what's going on in your life. And I'm like, all right, well,
yeah,
if they're right, then theoretically, whenever I move in and life slows down a bit, it should be no problem to stop. And I don't know. I mean, there's probably so many other factors that went into this, but yeah, I haven't, it's been over a month now or so and haven't taken any Adderall. And I'm just interested to see how he talks about that or what he can draw from that. I mean, he's got his memoir coming out, so we'll definitely be focusing on that mostly. But I'm going to be a little selfish and talk about me for a second with him.
Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating. Yeah, I know. I remember you talking with Zach Rhodes, and I watched that one before I talked with him. And then all of that, talking with him, seeing him with you, I think that was kind of an intuition I always had. Not saying I'm smart to predict what he's saying there, but I just had a hard time seeing how you could self-inflict a disease based on how I thought about diseases.
Right.
With an external substance coming into your body. It was like, how is that a disease? I thought you catch diseases. I thought diseases are genetic in some ways sometimes.
Well, yeah, I think that's part of the error of the whole disease model. And I could be speaking out of turn here. I have been like looking into it a little bit, getting ready for Stanton or Dr. Peele later this month. But I do believe there was like an assumption before there was knowledge that it was genetic, that it was, your daddy was an alcoholic, your grandfather was an alcoholic. Okay. You better watch out. Yeah. You better watch out. Like you're going to be, you are likely to be an alcoholic without the knowledge or, the being able to point to the gene specifically, like this one's the one that does it. It was it seems to me like it was an error of assumption on the part of researchers and therapists and maybe scientists to say that, we know it's genes. Shut up, Dr. Peele. And it's been interesting to read his memoir because, so far a lot of it reads, and I guess I don't want to give too much away, but so far a lot of it reads as though it's kind of like a reflection of his career living on the fringe and talking about fringe ideas. Which is exciting. It's cool.
So in a way there, he plays the part of the heretic in our society. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm just so interested to talk to him because I don't know if you ever watched his show with Zach Rhodes, the Life Process program. A little bit. Yeah. It's like one of my go-tos on YouTube. I just love their dynamic where Zach he gets a little more philosophical with things and Stanton is just drawing from his experience and his knowledge and his past research. And it's kind of like this teacher and student dynamic that's going on, where they're coming towards the problem from different angles. And, what they do is they talk, for people who are listening and have no idea what we're talking about. It's a show with Dr. Stanton Peele, who is like one of the original guys that was talking about addiction not being limited to substances. He came out with a book called Love and Addiction in like 1975, I think, where he was saying that, no, you can be addicted to a love partner. And it's the same process that's going on as an addiction to something like heroin. And I was like, people were like,
chocolate.
Yeah. For me, it's nicotine and caffeine. I'm puffs, man, the vapes. I'm just like, I need to give it up. But he was like way ahead of his time talking about things like that. Like, people were basically shunning him. He wasn't able to speak at many scientific events about addiction. Leaders in the addiction field didn't want to hear it. They had committed to the disease model. And so it's him along with Zach Rhodes, who is a former heroin addict and now is a counselor, author, and podcast host. And just, they talk about current events through the lens of the addiction model. Like, they did an episode about, why am I drawing a blank right now? Demi Lovato, is it? And her talk about addiction. They talked about Matthew. I mean, it's really cool to see them use their framework of addiction to analyze what's going on today in the news.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. And I think they just, I follow Zach on LinkedIn also. I see a lot of, at least the episode titles and what they're talking about there. He shares those episodes there. I think they just covered the Olympic athlete that was banned for the
Sha'Carri Richardson.
Yep.
Yeah, I haven't watched that one yet, but that is an interesting thing. What's your take on that? Do you know much about it?
I know what I read, when it first, breaking news, Twitter or wherever I saw it. I don't think I need to know much. If we're talking about marijuana use for a high performing athlete, or let's go down to the legalization, legalize it, leave it alone. I think Zach and the last 10 years have really changed the framework from how I see things like this. I grew up thinking, I grew up believing in the what was it? The war on drugs.
Dare. You were a dare kid.
Yep.
Me too.
So
me too. My
all
mom
drugs
hated.
are bad.
Yeah.
Yep. All drugs are bad. All drugs were evil. Don't get caught doing drugs. Don't get stuck doing drugs. Don't be a druggie. All those things. And it's like all framed on this belief of control. Yeah. And it's a shame. It's like so many other things. It's like, how did we let it get this far, sort of idea. But if she can smoke marijuana and then also perform as an Olympic athlete, then more power to you, because I've never seen that actually make somebody run faster.
Yeah.
Like, how dumb is that?
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. And I can't take ownership for this take on it. I think I first saw it from Andrew Schultz. He was like, saying, yes, that's true, but also you got to know the rules. Like, this is probably your lifelong dream. You should probably know the rules and be willing to sacrifice to complete it. And so
that's true.
I see it both ways. I think they can both be true.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go back to what you're saying about, drugs and control and, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are you familiar with the Michael Pollan book, How to Change Your Mind? I think it is.
No.
Yeah. So that is a sick book. I saw you guys were doing a book club. That would be one book that I would throw into the mix.
I missed that episode.
Okay.
I wasn't on that one. The discussion afterwards, that may have been one of the books that was thrown out to do next, but go ahead.
It really resonated with me. And I guess I'll just, for people who are listening and aren't familiar with it. And before I get into why it resonated personally, is he starts the book off as a skeptic. Michael Pollan's a renowned journalist. I think he did, what was the food book? I forget. There's a really popular food book that he did. But he starts off the book as a skeptic, and he doesn't necessarily seem to believe the hoo-ha around things like psilocybin and LSD as therapeutic tools. But as he goes through the book and he uses them, I think he uses all of them. He might not use all of them, but he tries some
Was
of
he
them.
on Rogan
And you
recently?
Yeah. Yep.
I saw him.
Yep.
I know what you're saying. Yep.
Yep. He's awesome. He starts to change his mind and he starts to see the benefit in them. And he starts to see how people can have these almost religious like experiences on these drugs that help them come to terms with their past or come to terms with death, accept the finality of life. Also what's cool in that book, and this isn't what I related to, but he does give a little background. This is why I thought of it. He gives background on how the war on drugs and things like that came to be. And I'm not going to go into detail on it because I kind of forgetting. Maybe I need to go revisit it. But it's just, that's the thing is, we don't even, all of our attitudes and stuff and legal or laws are framed from a period in time that we don't even remember. And we look at these drugs through the lens of like the 1970s or whatever, or I guess it was the 70s when things started to become illegal. And it's like, what are we doing? But personally, the reason the book relates to me is because, I mentioned going through depression and anxiety through college. I thankfully found my current girlfriend who helped me realize that how I was feeling was not right. I was waking up many mornings very angry, unable to articulate why I was angry, and then just latch on to something silly and get angry about it. I would have there would be late nights where I would start to hear voices, people talking about me. It got dark, man. And
wow.
I started going, with her help, started going to therapy. And at the same time, I was shooting videos for this music festival, Desert Hearts. And there was this one specific music festival, I think it was 2016 or 17, sometime in that mid 2010s range, where I had a psilocybin trip. And I put my camera down and I enjoyed it. And I just felt the music and everyone in sync together, everyone timed up. And in that moment, it was literally like 20 years of therapy in just a second, where all of the ways that my mother and I had been interacting for the last decades, like I just suddenly switched and saw it from her perspective and saw the pain that she was going through. And it was just like this overwhelming feeling of just compassion and gratitude washed over me. And I was able to, in that moment, completely like understand and forgive her. And that was such a huge step in my ability to get over the things that were bothering me, that it is just very encouraging to me to see people, really putting their lives and all of their weight behind getting this back out to the public in a responsible way. Cause I feel like there's so much. One of the things I think the media definitely drives division, but there's just so much like self-loathing and inability to connect and insecurity in the US that I feel like even if the media wasn't playing games with our minds, we would still feel like we were missing meaning or like we were missing something important. And I don't know, I just feel like having tools that are, used throughout ancient times ritualistically by peoples, as far back as we have record, is beneficial. We should be looking, this goes back to the beginning of the conversation. We should be looking to help people grow however we can. Right.
Yeah. That's really neat that you had that experience. Maybe someday I'll be as brave to try one of those substances, but I'm ingrained, 20, 30 years of the war on drugs.
Yeah. I mean, they're not for everyone too. I mean, it's not.
No, but I've tried some things and I've kind of experienced, went a little too far on some gummies, we'll say once. And that was wild. And yeah, but I understand what you're saying. And it's like, so it helped me kind of understand how insignificant a thing like the war on drugs is when I stumbled upon Rogan talking to Graham Hancock.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen those episodes?
Oh yeah.
And he's
Legendary
talking about,
episodes.
the potential lost civilizations that could have been as big and as prevalent as we are today. And if it had been wiped out by, common impacts, well, yeah, you probably wouldn't have much of a record left of it. And talking about, the things like ayahuasca and psilocybin and the DMT, and how even some of it, this was what blew me away. Some of it might actually provide the factual historical context of some of the experiences in the Bible. The burning bush, things like that. And like you said, it's a part of our civilization as a species. Forget about the last 30, 40 years and when this Western civilization created this mindset of the war on drugs. If that's your framework, then you have more to learn than you've learned so far by exponential amount.
Yep. Yeah, man, I could not agree more. That's actually something that I had this experience the other night. Just this, was it? I don't know. Within the last 7 days, where I was like, I forget what I was mad about. Oh, I had almost run out of gas in my car. I didn't even realize that my tank was like on empty. It said literally 0 miles. And I was like, oh, fuck. I got to find a gas station right now. So I find one. I'm driving and I'm just like, oh, I swear if I find a gas station, I'm not just going to put $10 in. I'm going to fill it up. I'm going to just fill this bad boy up, which in California is not necessarily a cheap thing to do. So I find a gas station and I fill it up like I said I was going to do. And I'm like driving back on the highway and I was just like overwhelmed with this feeling of like, whoa, dude, 10,000 years ago or whatever, we were just like humans. We're just laying in the dirt, probably hungry, probably like worried about the family, but unable to articulate it in any meaningful way. And now I'm driving down the highway. I just filled up my moving horse, my machine horse with oil that we dug out from the earth. I'm listening to any song I want to on Spotify. It's like, this is so sick. Like it just switched my mindset, of just being like, okay, we've come so far. I live in an awesome time. And there's a lot to be grateful for. Forget the $70 gas, the tank I just filled up. This is sick.
Yeah. Perspective is a powerful thing.
Yeah.
I used that today. So I had a potential new job that I'm working on, my day job.
Oh, nice.
And number 6 of 6 interviews today for this one position. Yeah, it's been
so I'm your 7th interview today. On the other side.
Well, it was like 6th over 2 weeks. Yeah. Which is still a lot. So I'm driving to that today and I'm super nervous and anxious. And I don't know why it made me think of it. I think I was just trying to have a little perspective on, what I was worried about in this moment. And I started to think about, I believe her name is Yeonmi Park.
Oh yeah, the North Korean
defector. And
I still haven't listened to that.
Recently I saw her a little bit on Jordan Peterson and Lex Friedman, and I heard more of her on Lex Friedman. And you get to hear, like, we all think of North Korea as bad, but to hear her describe it in the detail she goes into, bad doesn't describe it. You have no idea how bad is when until you listen to her. Like genocide is happening now. Concentration camps is still happening now in 2021 in North Korea. And she, definitely listen to that, because if you need perspective, there you go. I mean, those people are living in some ways still in what is Nazi Germany as a Jew. I mean, it's insane. That's crazy, man. They don't know, like, what we're doing now on a video call, recording this with microphones, the technology.
Talking about whatever we want to.
They don't even know this exists. They don't know the internet is a thing. I mean, can you imagine? It's just crazy, insane. Man. So that helped me kind of like, all right, I'm all right. Yeah.
You don't even need to look 10,000 years in the past to just be be like, oh, I have it pretty good. And that's not to say that everyone in America has it great and that, you
Right.
know, we should all just be super stoked about where we are. But I mean, maybe if you think about how it could be. And I mean, I don't know, man. I feel very strongly that there needs to be more institutions or places where we're instilled with that kind of feeling, where we are, you know, that was like the function of church, right? Is to give you a place where you feel your insignificance for a bit, where you feel that you are not the center of the universe and you feel like you are just a passenger on this ride, you know? And I don't know. There's just so many things that I wish were different, but I'm also very grateful because things are sick. So I don't know. It's just, I don't know what I'm trying to say other than I wish that more people would take just a second to understand where we are.
Yeah, that could go a long way to cure a lot of ill. But you're right, not to overlook the real ill we do have in this country and to help those people and not just put it on a website to say we're going to help those people or a marketing, you know, market that we're going to help those people just to have power. Yeah.
Yep.
So you're working on the podcast with folks like you just laid out. That's some heavy hitters there, my friend.
I'm stoked. Yeah, it's been great.
So why do you do your podcast? What is your goal in life with that?
That's a great question. This is one that I think about all the time. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And the only thing I can come up with is that I like it. I like doing it. I like talking to people, you know, would I ever get a chance to talk to Dr. Stanton Peele and share my experience with Adderall and get his thoughts on it and pick his brain outside of doing this podcast? I don't think so. Like, probably not. So just that is sick. And I also, I want to do it. I don't know. I don't know how to put it into words. Like if it were possible for me to do it for a living, I would 100% do that. Like, I think Joe Rogan is the fucking man for how he's carved out a lane for this to be a thing. And, you know, I don't aspire. Okay, let me rephrase this, because there is a weird thing in me that like wants fame. I feel like we all in America kind of have this like ingrained in us at a really deep level that's hard to unravel sometimes. But I feel like most of us who have grown up watching films and listening to music have this like core in us that's like, I want to do that. Like, I want to be famous and known. And, you know, I think I'm not saying I don't have that, but I think it was stronger in me maybe 15 years ago or so, 10 years ago. And I think it gets weaker in me all the time. And my reasons for doing things become more pure. But you know, that there's that part, but the thing is, I recognize that having Joe Rogan's life is not something I would want. I don't want to be someone who is like unable to go to the local bar and have some level of anonymity. You know, I just want to be in that middle zone of like known and respected, but not known, you know. I don't know. It's a hard thing to unravel.
I think the age, you're right. I think the age though, the Rogans, he's like so unique, and I don't know if you're going to see a lot of people like him. You know, it's like Lex Friedman. You know, you and I know who he is, but could he walk down a street in an area that's, you know, he's not watched and be not be recognized? Probably still, right?
Yeah. And another one I think of is Coleman Hughes. Sorry to cut you off, but sometimes I think of Coleman Hughes and I'm like, he probably can go places.
And I was going to say Crystal and Sagar, you know, Breaking Points.
Yeah. Ooh, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I mean, it's like, but that's what they believe in. They believe in this specialized audience, this niche thing where people can carve out these little spaces of their own. I guarantee you there's pockets of the population that have no clue who you're talking about. Maybe The Hill, but maybe even not that. You know, I'm still astounded by the things I stumble upon now, even with my awakened stage as it is. And I'll stumble upon somebody new in this kind of space we're all in that I've never heard of. And I'm like, how have I not heard of this person? You know? So I think Maybe you do it for the pursuit of knowledge
Right,
and learning
exactly.
things that are new and exposing other people to these people as well. But if you're famous and you get maybe one request for an autograph, maybe you're okay.
Yeah. No, that's, I'm glad you said that, because that's definitely a part of it for me too, is, you know, I started the podcast off. I actually went back and listened to my first episode recently because I'm coming up on episode 50, and I was like, I want to have my first episode back on. And so I went back and listened to that episode. And in the intro, I'm like, this is going to be, you know, really, really nervous. Like, this is going to be a podcast about mental health and therapies and stuff. And
there you go.
not quickly, but I eventually realized that doing it with that focus, I was not going to get anywhere because I wasn't that interested in it. I was interested in mental health stories. I'm interested in pioneers who in mental health and their therapies, but I'm not interested in learning about the newest like use of whatever therapy and how it's the success rates and all this stuff. I'm very much not a specialized person, and I have broad topics that I like to learn about generally, you know, and like, I think having someone like being able to have someone like Dr. Edward Watts on to come and talk about ancient Rome, and then 2 days later be talking to Dr. Stanton Peele about addiction. That's sick to me. That's cool, because those are two things that I can get down with. And I see the benefit in amplifying what they have to say. You know, it's not, yes, I'm pursuing the knowledge for the sake of the knowledge, and I want to be more knowledgeable about our world. But I think there's like certain things that are worth amplifying and worth trying to get people interested in. And so that's kind of the next stage for me.
Yeah.
I don't know when this podcast is going to come out, but I'm going to be leaving my job soon, and I'm going to be focusing on these kinds of things more full time. And the plan is to start. Yeah, I think you saw the outgrowing addiction animation that I did, the short video. So the plan is to start doubling down on that kind of stuff, and put these ideas into shorter 2 to 4 minute videos that can be quickly digested and maybe more shareable, because I think that some ideas are so big that, like, nuclear weapons is one thing I'm super interested in. I'm super interested in that. That's a hard thing to get people interested in, you know? And I think that's using animation skills, taking someone talking about that topic, distilling it down into a fun animation, making it 2 minutes, and then linking to the full conversation could be a way forward for me. So that's kind of where I'm headed. And I'm excited I look at what I'm doing as like a self-development and message amplification platform. So I'm not the Coleman Hughes or Sam Harris guy coming up with like all these unique perspectives, and I'm like super smart and I have something interesting to say about everything. I just want to be the guy who's asking the good questions, who's getting the person to talk about the thing in a way that will interest people who might not be interested in it otherwise. Right. So that's how I see it.
Well, I think that is a heroic endeavor, honestly. I mean, you know, think about a conversation. Like, how long do you think your conversation will be with Stanton Peele, for instance?
90 minutes.
All right. So you certainly couldn't read his book in 90 minutes, right? Most people.
Right.
For all the people that would not read his book, that might stumble upon your podcast, or now even maybe an animation short to start, and then they get to the podcast. You know, if they can glean kind of the ideas of this person through this experience, then, and not have to read the book because they weren't going to be the book reader anyway.
Right. Yep.
And think about what you've exposed them to and the potential it might have, the impact it might have on their lives and the people around them. You know, it's exponential. I
appreciate that sort of perspective. That's exactly kind of where my head is at. Like, I just, you know, I feel like there's not to judge or segment people, but the reality is that there's certain people who are thought leaders in these topics who are really difficult to access for people who don't have, you know, like me. I have a 4-year liberal arts degree. I'm not someone who's going to really, I'm like the typical person who's not going to understand all of the minute details of the research. You know, like COVID is a great example. Like, I've completely given up looking into this stuff, and I've relied completely pretty much on Brett Weinstein and Heather Hying to give me the information that I need to do the research for me in a way, and for me to make my own decision based on what they're saying. So I feel like there's these two levels of operation of like specialization and no understanding at all.
Yeah.
And being a bridge between those two is, I feel, a valuable thing.
Yeah, it's one thing to have doors to this information and hallways that lead to it. It's another to see the door at all. So that's another way to look at it. You're like, here's a door. All you got to do is kind of open it and peek inside and look what you have access to now. Yeah,
I love that analogy, dude. I'm gonna definitely steal that from you. I'll make sure to give you
copyright
credit.
that. Yeah. You saw it here. Yeah, that's
I
funny.
love that.
There you go, the brainchild.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So we'll look to that, and if you have any we can link to that first one kind of in the show on this one.
Yeah, whatever, man, or just the YouTube channel in general. I mean, that's kind of where I'm focusing my effort, is trying to build that platform in the anticipation of having more of these animation videos going out. As soon as I get more free time here, I'm going to be turning to the nuclear weapons topic, actually. And I had a conversation with Lisa Perry recently. Actually back in March, that I just put out. And so the plan is to start there and to break that very dense and difficult thing. Like, people don't like thinking about nuclear war. So nuclear weapons, it's not, the post-Cold War generations don't give a crap. They don't, it's not something we think about ever, but it's extremely important. And so that's where I'm going to start, I guess. Outgrowing addiction was really the start, but yeah, we'll see where it goes, man. But I appreciate your perspective on that. That's very valuable.
Yeah, I think I saw something about China building new silos now.
Oh, really? I did not see that.
Yeah, I think it was Tim Pool had posted about it. So
that's the sticky situation, man, is the game theory of the Cold War doesn't hold anymore, and that's, I don't think enough people realize that that creates a very unstable environment. And whenever you have neighboring countries like India and Pakistan, both armed with nuclear weapons, who are, that won't be good for anyone on the planet if they were to enter a nuclear war. That would affect every person on the planet.
Right.
And we should be thinking about this in some way, whether it's just educating ourselves so that I don't even know. That's the next hard thing, is like, how do you take the education and even do anything with it to make a change? But I think it starts there, at least, right?
Yeah. Yeah, here it is. Like I don't know, is the Guardian it leans left, I guess. I have the Ground News.
Oh, nice.
Chrome extension.
Oh, they have an extension? Nice.
They do. And it tells you your news source the way it leans. Yeah, so China building more than 100 nuclear missile silos in desert. This is from July 1st.
That's no bueno for any of us, dude.
No.
It's not good. Especially because they're not limited by the New START treaty limitations. That's just Russia and the US. So I think China has a few hundred nukes. Both the US and Russia have something like 1,500 deployed. They have no incentive to not build more until they get to that number. Then so it's just, it's no good. And Lisa Perry was like, all scientists think we would need is 100 to go off at once to enter a nuclear winter. It's like, well, we've got many more than that, so we should be talking about this.
Alrighty. Well, we'll look for your information on that for sure.
Good night, everybody.
So, nuclear holocaust aside, we're politically, from the Unity 2020 perspective, how do you see all this shaking out 2024 or 2022 at least? What do you think? What's going to happen? Trump going to be reelected? Is Biden going to make it? Is it going to be Kamala versus Trump?
I mean, Biden's already said that he is the transition leader, right? And I guess, what did he say? What was the actual term? I forget what it actually was that he said, but it was basically, I'm the transition guy, something like that. And, according to Crystal and Sagar, two people I've relied on for any sort of understanding of world geopolitics, is that the Biden administration is freaking out about Kamala Harris. So who knows?
I've seen
who
posts
knows,
about that.
man.
Yeah.
I feel like the thing that is likely to happen, if not in the next election, but definitely within our lifetimes, is we're going to get the capable Trump leader. We're going to get the guy who's actually smart, who's actually savvy, who uses the Trump playbook, and we're gonna elect him willingly. You know, there's going to be, I just feel like the door has been opened for such a crazy thing unless people in general are able to come together in a meaningful way and come to some sort of shared sense of reality, which is why, you know, I was thinking before we got on, if we just gave every citizen in the US we turned off all mainstream media and just gave everybody a steady dose of breaking points with Crystal and Sagar, we'd probably get out of this mess in 5 to 10 years, you know. It's, seriously,
true.
like, I just,
Yeah.
I fear for what the door has been opened to with our inability to come to even a basic understanding of what is morally good and what is morally bad. You know, we can't even agree on the basics, let alone complex things. And that's frightening to me.
All right. So you think tune in to Breaking Points.
What do you think?
I mean, so far what it looks like is, it's the Trump Kamala show, and we're going to be right back where we were with Trump Biden, and lesser of two evils talks. We've heard some flickerings of what a potential Unity 2024 could be. Like, it's not necessarily a dead thing.
Okay. I'm glad you brought that up, because I was actually wondering, like, this whole ivermectin thing for Brett seems like the Unity sequel, like Empire Strikes Back kind of vibe. And I was just wondering if his head is even in the game for 2024.
It's a good question. There's some things we heard most of it we can't share, but basically it's wait for the right moment sort of thing.
Okay.
That there were some people potentially on board that would make an impact, but, it would have to wait for the right time, the right moment, for maybe the two parties to slip up a little bit in a major way.
Wait for disaster.
Something like that, but
yeah,
maybe. Yeah. And it could be some combination again with libertarian and green parties a little bit. Try to wield that collective power a little earlier in the game, sort of deal.
Dude, if someone just put Justin Amash and Tulsi Gabbard on a ticket, it would be game over. They would,
there's a ticket. Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh,
I would
instantly
vote for them in a heartbeat. I voted for Tulsi. I wrote in Tulsi on the last one.
Yeah, I would register all of my dead relatives and vote in their name. Did I just say that out loud?
You can't do that. That's illegal. That's not possible. It doesn't happen.
Practicing a lot of weird things since we last talked.
Yeah, UnityNow team, we're gonna have to set up that Odyssey account really soon, because YouTube's gonna ban this. We already think we're shadow banned, so we're gonna be outright banned.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dude, you should transfer to Odyssey. I did it. All my stuff is backed up on Odyssey.
Have you seen different kind of subscriber count, or what are you seeing there?
Not one.
Really?
Nothing. I haven't marketed anything.
Okay.
I haven't provided any links to it. I haven't made an announcement that I'm on it. I haven't, commented on videos. I haven't interacted on it at all. I was just kind of like, well, let me just do this. If there's going to be a mad rush over here, then I'll have my stuff already here. And it was really easy. I mean, they have some limitations on what can be moved over, but if you reach out to their customer service, you're supposed to only be able to move all of your videos over if you have like 1,000 subscribers. But I was just like, played my case directly to customer service, and they're like, okay, we'll move your stuff. And they moved everything. So
yeah, we would argue that we might have 1,000 subscribers if we weren't talking about what we talk about.
Yeah.
It seems we get a lot of views. Most of them are non-subscribers, but nobody subscribes. And then we actually kind of trickle a little lower most of the time. It's weird.
You might be, man. I mean, I would not be surprised in the least if you guys were shadow banned.
Yeah. Or we aren't just very good at it, and you're going to save the day with this brilliant episode.
Right. No, you guys are doing great, man. I've always, I have fallen off watching recently just because of this life circumstances.
It's too much
been,
going on.
fallen behind my podcast listening in general. But
Me too.
I did tune into the book episode, and I thought that was awesome, a fun thing to explore. And I don't know if there's ways to get, the audience, people involved in something like that. But I'm glad to see that you guys are still doing it. It makes me very happy to know that that core team is still there and plugging away at it, man, for sure. I'm rooting for you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Obviously, you had a huge part in building where we got to. And so the team, I'm sure, many thanks I can provide from them. We all love you and miss you.
Yeah.
And then, Kimberly's still the backbone of the whole deal. She keeps us together, keeps us organized, and whips us into shape weekly, right? And
Salute, Sarge.
Todd Neeson there on the sound, still producing probably some of the best quality sound on internet podcast today. And and then
Gabe,
Seth and Wes and Gabe killing it on his episodes. He's trickled it down from 5 hours down to about 2 on his. He'll laugh at that. I joke with him all the time about the length of his episodes, although we are going pretty long here.
Yeah, we're all right.
We have so we opened up the Discord channel to make it a community style. So for those of you watching, you can click the link below and get into Discord. Don't have anybody there yet, but we hope to soon. And Patreon coming soon, probably. So we're working on it.
Yeah, you guys should definitely. Have you looked into Odyssey at all? I mean, it's a very interesting platform.
Yeah, I went ahead and set up my account and just kind of watched the Brett Weinstein stuff because they had moved it there, at least temporarily. And then we didn't get to have a meeting today because everybody was still kind of off, but we broached the topic. So I don't know if anybody's going to vote no, so we're probably going to go ahead and do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's free and easy, and it's just interesting that it's run on blockchain. It's a blockchain technology, and you can, I don't know, there's basically like what is it called? A super chat or donate feature directly built into it where you get credits, you get crypto credits of some sort. I forget the actual cryptocurrency they use. And then you can in turn use those to boost your posts. So you can just like flip that back in. Unfortunately, I would have already tried the post boosting, but you're not able to buy credits in US currency currently. So you can only accept donations, but I don't know.
Yeah, we should provide maybe a little context here, especially with the shirt you're wearing, right? So Odyssey is a different sort of platform, kind of like YouTube. I think it's only a website right now, right?
No, there's an
app.
There's an app.
There is an app. Fantastic. Yep. I need to get the app. I'm so like lazy now, it's like typing in whatever.com versus clicking that button on an app,
I know.
I need it. I don't want to go to a website. So that's great. I'll get the app. And so we're all stumbling upon it because of Brett Weinstein and being censored on YouTube for a lot of his ivermectin and COVID vaccine talk, right?
Yep. And he made these wonderful shirts. I'm not a huge fan of the design, but knowing that they lost their YouTube ad revenue, that's such a slap in the face. I was like, take my money, Brett. You're doing excellent work. You do not deserve to lose all of that income. You are doing a public service, sir. I salute you. Hope you see that.
Yeah, I think Kimberly said, like I told you, she got her shirt yesterday. So
yeah, it's a shame, man. It's been the only story I've really been paying attention to in the public sphere is what's going on with Brett and tech censorship. It's crazy.
Yeah. So hopefully podcasts like yours and maybe ours will be available, and so you can keep opening those doors and shedding light on topics like you're doing, which is again heroic work. So kudos there, and
likewise,
keep
man.
it going. I think we'll probably call it a night if you don't.
Yeah, that's good.
Have
I'm
any
hungry.
Objections?
No.
Yeah. What is it? 4:30 out there?
4:30. Yeah, we have more moving stuff to do. So.
All right. All right, we'll go ahead and end it there. We'll link, of course, to Mr. Eric White's show in the description below and wherever you listen to podcasts. And you're on Twitter still, right? So
yeah. I'm a quiet observer of Twitter.
Got to get your Getter feed so we can put her on there.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well,
cool. Yeah, thanks again for having me, man. It's been a pleasure. Always love chatting with you. Miss the crew. And, who knows what will happen in the next few months. Maybe we'll be in touch and work more.
Sounds good. Great to see you. Great to talk to you. Have a great night, man.
Thank you for watching the UnityNow podcast. We will be back with another conversation that highlights the political middle ground to unite Americans and end the ideological war. In the meantime, we'd love to hear from you. Please comment below and hit that subscribe button.